Hiya guys, I've just filmed another video, but I'm going to film another one because I was thinking about doing this one other day because I'm all about horror and scary stuff. So I'm gonna read scary stories. So I've gone on Reddit. I've not looked at yet really, apart from I've just got one up, but I haven't looked at it yet. But I'm gonna read them for you. So yeah. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I'm gonna. So first one is, I still can't explain this. While hiking alone in the woods, I heard someone whisper my name. I turned around but no one was there. I was miles from the nearest person. To this day I have no explanation for it. Have you experienced something that defies explanation? So that's more than likely it's a bit creepy. It's not like the scariest we've heard, but that's more than likely a spirit if there were definitely no one there. But it's more than likely someone that they know, unless they did it in a scary voice. But yeah, I mean like someone that they know that's past, that's close to them or something. If not, obviously it could be a scary one that doesn't know him or I don't know if it's in him or I was just looking at some of the answers. Right, I'm going to do next one. That was a short one, this is a longer one. Ready? I've heard this story once, which I'm sure if it's real or not. I'm not sure if it's real or not, I mean. But it gives me the creeps whenever I remember it. There was this young woman, let's call her Amy, who was on the dating apps trying to find the suitable partner for her. One day she met a dude, let's call him Aaron. Aaron invites her for the first date, she accepts, so they meet one day, and Amy has the most amazing time of her life. Aaron is so attentive, so calm, so respectful. He has so much things that she thought men nowadays lacked. The date went super well and he drove her to her house, escorted her to her apartment door, and he didn't try anything weird. He gave her a cheek kiss and left. An hour later, Amy receives a call from Aaron. He tells her that he really needs her help. Apparently his roommate went out of town and he locked the apartment, and Aaron forgot to take his keys with him. So he has to wait for him until he comes back in the morning. He asks her nicely if she can let him sleep on the couch. She thinks through it and then she declines, because after all she doesn't know him well. Good girl. Aaron was fine and respectful with it, and he told her he'll go out of town to bring the keys from his friend, and hung up. So Amy starts feeling guilty. She called him saying, "It's fine, you can come over." Not so much a good girl now. Silly girl. "You'll sleep on the couch and I'll sleep in my bedroom." He says, "Yes, of course, you don't have to worry about it." So Aaron comes over. She made him a nice little bed on the couch, gave him a blanket and some snacks, and went to sleep. And since she wanted to be extra careful, she locked the bedroom door. A few hours later, Aaron knocks on her door. Asking if he could come in to ask for a favour. She says, "No, stay right there because I am naked." She asked him what he wanted. So he told her that he doesn't have a charger and he needs to charge his phone to contact his friend. Amy was charging her phone in the kitchen earlier, so she left the charger there. She tells him to go to the kitchen, open the drawer, and you'll find it there. He goes and come back after minutes saying the charger doesn't work. Can you please give me another one, or at least open the door so we can test this charger again on your phone? He says this as he tries to open the door. Amy starts to get suspicious, tells him, okay, I have another charger, you just wait right here please, I'm going to charge and come to you. Immediately she calls 911 and tells them she's scared, so he might be dangerous, and asks them to come as soon as possible. This is not sounding good, is it? And as the police are coming, she tries to distract him by talking and telling him she's still looking for a charger, and saying she doesn't want to let him in because her room is really messy and embarrassing. He stays as calm as possible as he waits for her next to the door. A few minutes passed. The police started knocking on the door. While he didn't know, he opened the door and they arrested him. The police went to Amy's bedroom and told her it's safe to open the door. As she opens the door, the police officer enters and tells her it's okay, we have him under arrest, you may come out. But just to warn you, you'll be really shocked about what you're going to see in your living room. She walks scarily to the living room as she finds him there with the police officer. While her living room is covered with plastic, the couch, the floor, the walls, and multiple melee weapons are placed on the floor, including a saw and multiple knives. It turns out the man was luring her to murder her, and if she didn't lock her room, she would have been dead. That actually sent chills down my spine, and some up chills and yeah, don't let people come to your house whether you feel guilty or not if you don't know them that well and you've just been on a date with them. It's really creepy, and there were a lot of excuses they seem to have made. And do you know what? I don't know how I didn't hear a phone police there, even if because she told them, unless she did it by text. I don't know if it's his phone. So anyway, it could have been so much different. So stay safe, girls and boys, and don't let people come stay in your house that you don't know. Okay, so yeah, lesson learned for her, I guess. And by the way, I don't victim blame, I don't, but let's take as much precautions as we can. Don't let people stay in your house that you don't know. Right, so the next one is, we met and we fell in love almost instantly. We bonded over our passion for cooking and my burgers that are to die for. I loved her so much and we loved each other. She tried to leave me because apparently what I do is wrong. I must have spooked her because she started to run away. I captured her and did my thing. Now 2 weeks later I'm preparing her for dinner. My big burgers for my new date. Hopefully this one doesn't run. I always wait 1.5 years to tell them about my secret recipe. This girl seems like the crazy type, maybe she'll upset me. Well, that's not really scary, is it? What? Are you agreeing it's not really scary? No, it's not, Jenny. Not even scary for babies. That's our little Jenny girl. Yeah, this is the next one. My mother was walking down a trail in Jamaica a very long time ago, 1970s to 80s. She walked past a sand mound or a hill of some sort. This hill had a hole or cave in it that you can walk in. She did not walk in, but she saw a man in a bloody white dress that hung himself. She looked... Trigger warning. I've said it before because I didn't even realise what you were going to say. She looked again and the man's body was gone. She asked her grandma, may she rest in peace, about it, and said that somebody hanged themselves there. She told me this story this morning, and she doesn't really believe ghosts. She's well devout Christian, and she believes that the man's body she saw was the devil taking the form a man as a way deceive the living. I don't know what to say about that. That sounds a bit crazy and a bit scary, that one. Yeah, it could have been, it probably was the devil doing something, so just be aware when you're about and you see someone from a tree and then you look back and they're not actually there. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say about that. Bit touchy as well, ain't it? So I guess we'll say now there's a trigger warning in case there's anything else like that on here. Let's see the next one. This is a long one. Very long, so I don't know whether people would want me to do this one. It doesn't even sound like it's going to be a scary one from what they put up, so let's see. I'll do this one. The last passenger. I work the night shift driving a taxi in a small town. Most nights are boring, just drunk students or tired workers heading home. But last Friday was different. It was close to 2:45 AM when I got a call from dispatch. A pickup request from the old highway outside town. Weird, that road had been closed for years after a landslide. Still, money's money. When I got there, the fog was so thick I could barely see. Sounds like something out in an horror movie already, guys. See a meter ahead. My headlights caught a figure standing by the roadside. A woman in a dark dress, soaking wet, staring blankly at me. I rolled down the window and asked, "Need a ride?" She nodded once. She didn't say where she was going. Just sat silently in the back seat, dripping water onto the floor mats. If this was hidden by her long hair, sounds like a demon, by the way. Not a human, but someone that's not actually alive on Earth. I started driving, but my GPS wouldn't load. No signal, no clear destination. This woman simply pointed forward whenever I hesitated. After a while, she felt what felt like hours. We passed the town's edge and headed towards the forest. Finally, my nerves broke. I glanced into the review mirror to speak to her and froze. There was no reflection, only the wet imprint of where she sat, slowly soaking deeper into the fabric. I turned around, the back seat was empty. The air smelled like earth and something rotten. Panicking, I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop. Out in the trees, I saw her standing there. Her eye had tilted unnaturally to one side. Sounds a bit like a staff that in this building of a few weeks ago, guys, when she just opened lift and I think she'd luckily not one of the staff that works women. Or I'd be long gone. Standing there, yeah, we've done that bit. She pointed again at me. I floored the gas and didn't stop until I reached town. The next morning, the dispatcher called, furious, said I ignored 2 more pickup requests from the same location, but when I checked my ride history there were no requests logged after 2:45 a.m. There was just a note under my profile. Last passenger undelivered. I hadn't driven at night since, but sometimes when I'm parked my back seat still feels damp and my rear view mirror in the corner of my eyes, I swear I see her sometime. That must be like hell. I would leave like I said, I like horror and stuff, but I would not wait for taxi anymore. If I'd literally drive a demon to a destination, guys, sorry guys, I'm a bit late, right, oh, sorry, I got a sharp pain there, but yeah, so it's crazy. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, I'd leave. Never mind just changing today's in taxi to work for a taxi, but yeah, just leave. So next one is, it started with a visit. Tessa always thought her dad's job was boring. Something about biochemical research and experimental food engineering. She only agreed to visit him at the lab because he promised to show her something weird. Well, why would you go if he said you're going to show you something weird, love? He knew her taste, horror podcasts, create features, and late night conspiracy threads. She didn't expect much, but when she walked into the cold, hammering holes of the hatching unit, but when she walked into the cold humming holes of hatching unit, her breath ached. She wasn't prepared for the wall-to-wall display of eggs. Hundreds of them, all macroly arranged on a sleek obsidian pedestals. If I can't pronounce that, I think you know what I mean, but yeah. Each had a small metal tag beneath it, name, function, phase. Most looked deceptively normal, pastel coloured like Easter eggs or plain and chicken. But the deeper into the road she walked, the stranger they got. Some shimmered like fish scales. What's actually going on here? Yeah, I'm just trying to work out what's going on together on it. And some were translucent, jiggling softly with movement inside. Others had wrinkled leathery skin, like octopus heads. One was square, another floated mid-air inside a magnetic field, and at the front of the room, enclosed in its own dim light alcove, was a towering tree, like sculptured made of black steel. It had 5 eggs, each cradled into a comb branches. Tessa was drawn to the half-red, half-blue egg the most. It looked like a giant capsule pill, matte and amorphous. Dad saw her staring. That one specially, he said quietly. It came from subject Delta. Who's Delta? Tessa asked. Her lips pressed tight. A girl who broke in once, a long time ago. Delta's story began in silence. She had no real name anymore, just past drug, multiple charges, disappeared after skipping bail, but she had skills. She knew how to hide things inside herself, how to compress, wrap and swallow them down without flinching. That night, years ago, she crept into the facility looking for proof, maybe to sell, maybe just to expose something. When she found what she found were the eggs. She stuffed a few in a bag, some she didn't resist testing, others she swallowed when the gods came crashing in. They were soft, strange, but she wrapped them tight and looked and took them all the same, and something inside her changed. Days later, back in hiding, she woke with a fever, her back itched, pulse. One morning, a blister the size of a golf ball burst open, revealing something white beneath her skin. An egg. It didn't stop. Whenever she took medicine to calm her fever and stop the hallucinations, she vomited up eggs. Her body had become a factory, a breeding ground. Every pill she followed became something else, something gassed. She returned to the lab, desperate for help. Instead, they captured her. Now Delta lives in Chamber 9, chained at the neck, waist and ankles, her arms dangling by her sides, useless. A thick, coiled tube is inserted into her throat. That's just made me feel sick. Delivering a slurry of drugs and synthetic nutrients. Above her hangs a display showing her vitals and daily output quota. They no longer speak to her by name. Each morning a scientist enters, clipboard in hand, and tells her which medicine her body will be forced to process that day. Day 13. Now, I'm not going to try and pronounce these, but there's 3 different kinds. I'm guessing the medications. Some days are worse. The pills make her gag violently, her body spasms. The machine pauses only when she vomits blood. Then it begins again. They call it a reset. She is the egg layer there, living capsule press, and the blue and red egg Delta capsule 1 was the first breakthrough. It contained an IBID compound that treated anxiety with no liver toxicity. It acts from her spine. Every time a nurse collects the eggs from her back, they leave her a clean towel. It's the only kindness she's allowed. They even gave her a radio once, but it broke. She screamed into it for hours until her voice gave out. Tess turned to her father, her face pale. This is insane. You're using a person. He didn't look ashamed. She made her choices. Now she's making a difference. And the others, Tessa asked. He gestured towards the rows of eggs. Some were grown, some were born, some were found in corpse. After the subject self-medicated too often, not all of them lived. Tessa stared again at the display. The eggs didn't feel like progress, they felt like warnings, and in the deepest row, half hidden behind a darkened curtain, a new nameplate was being prepared. Right, do you know what? I don't know about you guys, but I didn't get much out of that other than eggs. I really don't. I cannot take all that information, I'm going to be honest. But apart from that, she's being used as a... Either way, it from what I get, it's just weird, and that some parts made me feel sick, like the silly thing. Can't remember what it said, but yeah, it's just... And like when she vomits blood and stuff, that makes me feel sick. Like, when people do that, like, how do you get over it? Like, I mean, it might be a bit dramatic, but anyway, I'm gonna have a little drink now because that was a long one. One good thing is Journey's been struggling to sleep all day, and she's sleeping to my voice underneath. It's like seeing a mummy talk. Seems like seeing me sing. Right, which one's next? This one sounds like it'll be good, but it is very, 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 very long. So after this one, I might do a part 2 after, because, or another day. Now let's see what this one is. So I found the 13th floor in my apartment and I wish I never saw what lives there. The first time I saw the 13th floor was just a few days ago, and I hope I will never see it again. And 13th's known for scary shit, innit? Let's see what's it. Yeah. It was a normal Monday and I was exhausted after a long day at work. I work as a nurse at Westview Hospital and my shifts were always draining, especially that day since I had to work a double. Finally my shift ended and I hurried out the door. I appreciate not having to worry about parking in a city that was normally too busy. So busy. Living so close to work had its advantages. Westview was often still bursting at that hour, but tonight it felt eerily abandoned, as though the world had retreated into the shadows. My apartment building loomed ahead and I quickened my pace, anxious to get inside. I stepped into the lobby of Central Heights, passing by Ray the doormat. Who calls the doormat a name? Am I missing something? And offering a polite nod to his wave. I think they must be on about something else, not a natural doormat. Normally I would have stopped to chat, but I was too tired and was just looking forward to a bath, a stiff drink and maybe a TV show before I collapsed into sleep. As I made my way towards the elevator, I was already scrolling through my phone for something to watch while waiting for the long ride to the 16th floor. I pressed the button and suddenly felt a strange sensation. The hair on my arm stood on end and I felt like I was being watched. I glanced over my shoulder but saw nothing. No one was in the lobby. Ray was still at his station, observed in a novel. It must have been nothing. I tried reassuring myself, yet the feeling persisted like unseen fingers trilling along my spine. This one sounds scary, but it sounds like one of them horror films that I'd like to watch at the same time. But like, yeah, I actually want to go to abandoned building, guys. Oh, but I know that'll come with me because everyone's scared. Where am I? Let's see. Sorry. When the elevator finally arrived, I stepped in without hesitation. I quickly pressed 16 and waited. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something odd. A powdery white dust near the elevator console. I checked myself to make sure I hadn't gotten any on me, but there was no trace of it on my clothes or skin. Then I looked closer and saw a choke-like smudge right on the console between the numbers 12 and 14. A disturbing chill ran through me as my hand hovered near to the strange mark. I paused, processing the bizarre sight before the bell chimed, and then the doors opened to my floor, shrugging off the unease. I stepped off. I'm too what, guys. So what? 2 or 3 now. There's 2 to 2. I'll say 2 years. Yeah, they say I've been 2 watch than that. Yeah. I walked down the hall to my apartment and sighed with relief that my day was over. As I approached my door, eager to collapse onto my couch, I rummaged through my bag and not for my son because I realised my keys were still at the hospital. Left on the break room counter, I groaned and trudged back to the elevator resigned to having to retreat them. I pressed the button down, and after what a brief wait, the door opened not far from where I stood. To my surprise, I wasn't alone in the elevator. There, occupying the small space, was an impossibly large figure draped in a long white coat. Their face was hidden by a hood, and their tall, rail thin form exuded an unsettling presence. I took an instinctive step back, disturbed by the sight, but I tried to steady myself and not stare. I considered waiting for the next elevator, yet the door wouldn't close. I can imagine. The figure remained motionless, its hood concealing any trace of expression as it stared impassively. Realising I had no way to get to my apartment without my keys, I reluctantly stepped into the elevator with the tall figure and pressed the button for the lobby. Well, why would you go? Why? Go and find some stairs. And I'll probably have followed you this because it's quite obviously a demon or something. Oh, that's when something made me do a double take. Even with the giant hooded figure standing silent beside me, I noticed an extra button on the panel, a softly glowing 13. It wasn't there when I'd gone up to my own floor. I noticed the 13 button bore a large imprint of white chalky powder, and saw that the looming figure's feet were also surrounded by the same odd substance. The elevator lurched into motion as I felt a cold dread wash over me. The buttons on the panel flicked by a strange otherworldly rhythm as the elevator began its descent. The hooded figure beside me remained completely still, filling his confined space with opposite silence. I bet it did. I felt its unseen gaze upon me, its face forever obscured by the hood. My breath caught when the elevator slowed, and the digital display above the doors flicked from 14 to a distorted blur, then to a number, then sent a chill coursing through my veins. 13. When the door slid open with a hollow clang, a dimly lit hallway unfolded before me, a place that didn't belong in my building. Thick, damp air spilled out, carrying the scent of my old dust mixed with a trace of something metallic. My heart pounded as the figure stepped forward with an unevenly fluid grace. Pausing in the doorway, it slowly turned its hooded head in my direction, as though silently inviting me to follow. I stood rooted to the spot, unable to move. My legs refused to budge as my mind screamed for me to run, to shout, to do anything other than step further into that dark, unnatural space. Suddenly I felt lightheaded and tried to steady myself against the elevator wall, but before I knew it, I crumbled to the floor, unconscious. Wow. When I came to, I sat up brutally. I nearly screamed, only to realise that I was still in the elevator. It had descended back to the lobby, and the strange other figures was nowhere to be seen. I had no idea how I had passed out. Perhaps I was more exhausted than I'd thought, yet it had felt so real, too real. I'd never experienced such vivid nightmare before. As I stepped out, I glanced back at the elevator panel one last time. I noticed a faint smudge of white powder near it. Shaken, I left and headed back to the door to retrieve my keys. When I got back to the building, Ray commented on how stressed I looked. I told him it's nothing more than bad news after a long day. He nodded and I pressed on. Yet when I arrived at the elevator again, that inexplicable, I don't know how to say that, upsetting feeling returned. Despite how late it was and how tired I was, I decided to take the stairs. I was swearing and utterly exhausted after the climb, but eventually I reached my apartment. I chose to forgo the bath in favour of a quick shower and then went straight to bed. The next morning on my way to work I was disturbed to see paramedics gathered outside the building approaching Ray. I asked him what had happened. His face was drawn, his usual smile absent. Leaning in close and lowering his voice he said, "It's Mrs. Donovan from 1406. They found her this morning when she didn't answer her door. A daughter called worried when she couldn't reach her." A chill ran through me. What happened to her? Nobody knows for sure, Ray replied. Glancing towards the paramedics, the police say it looked strange. There was no obvious signs of what killed her, but he hesitated, shifting uncomfortably. They mentioned she was covered in some kind of white powder like chalk or something. I've never seen anything in my 30 years here. Wow. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. White powder, just like in the elevator, just like in my nightmare. "Did you know her?" Ray asked, noticing the pallor in my face. "Not really. I managed to say something, my mouth suddenly dry. I only passed her in the awesome sounds. I tried to recall her face, but all I could conjure was a vague image of an elderly woman with silver hair who always nodded politely when we crossed paths. They're saying it might have been sudden cardiac arrest, but who knows." Ray continued, "Poor woman living alone all these years after her husband passed. At least it was quick, however, whatever it was." I nodded, my eyes fixed on the elevator doors. I thanked Ray for the information and mentioned that I had to get to work, yet deep down I felt disturbed. I had wanted to dismiss the unsettling news about the tenant found dead, but with bizarre substance mentioned, he led similar to what I'd seen with the tail hooded figure. The thoughts clung to me, refusing to let me find any peace. The rest of my workday passed in an easy blur, and I felt detached from everything as I struggled to process the bizarre events of the previous night. I'd already done with anxious dread going up the back of my mind. Back of my mind. Arriving back at my apartment building, I mustered the courage to approach the elevator again. The metallic doors still slid open with a soft ding, and though I hesitated for just a moment, I stepped inside. My eyes darted around small, dimly lit space, half expecting shadows to flicker in the corner. Taking a steady breath, I pressed the button for my floor while carefully scanning the panel for anything unusual. This time, the area between the number 12 and 14 was clean and unmarked, devoid of any chocolate residue. The elevator hummed quietly as it ascended, leaving only this the scent of metal and the gentle wear of machinery. I exhaled a sign of relief at the return to normality and walked down the hall to my apartment. Just as I inserted my key into the lock, I heard footsteps approaching down the hallway. "Oh, hey, I thought that was you." I turned to see Chelsea Matthews, my neighbour from 1604, walking towards me with a reusable grocery bag slung over one arm. Her dark curls were pulled back into a messy bun, and though her face attempted to smile where he was, etched in every line, Chelsea agreed to her with a forced smile. Chelsea glanced over her shoulder before stepping closer. "Did you hear about Mrs. Donovan?" she whispered, her voice tight. I nodded, still holding my key in the door. "Ray told me this morning it's over." "I can't stop thinking about it," Chelsea admitted, clutching her grocery bag closer to her chest. "I saw her just 2 days ago in the laundry room. She seemed perfectly fine, even talking about her granddaughter's ballet recital. recital.
She sat there this time when we
A
went.
chill crept up my spine. Did Ray mention the white powder they found? Her eyes widened. Yes, that was a shame. My sister works at the police station as a clerk, and she couldn't tell me much, but she said the investigators were baffled. It wasn't any kind of drug or poison they recognised, just a weird choky substance all over her body. Her voice dropped even lower. The medical examiner still hasn't determined cause of death. My legs felt weak as I leaned against the door frame. That's disturbing. There's something else, Chelsea confided, stepping inside close. Mrs. Donovan mentioned something weird the last time I saw her. She talked about having nightmares of a tall figure in white visiting her at night. She shook her head as something it was just an old woman's imagination, but now the key slipped from my fingers, clattering against the hardwood floor, making Chelsea jump. Sorry, I mumbled as I bent to retrieve it with trembling hand. Did she say anything else about the figure? Chelsea followed the bro, just that it was impossible.
We've tried it a couple of times and then, okay.
It was
It's really pointless. But just with that's where you do CPR, so I think it's just the CPR bit that we're getting with that. You're not benefiting from
Chelsea just impossible.
the CPR little bits.
Impossible toll and some kind of what she meant it even left marks on the floor, like footprints or something. She shrugged helplessly. I figured it was just medication given her vision. I'm sorry if I read that bit before, I can't remember. My mouth went dry. And you said this was 2 days ago. But yeah, she nodded. The day before she died, studying my face. She asked, "Are you okay? You look a bit pale." "I'm fine," I lied, forcing my throat to stand a little taller. "Just tired from work. These double shifts are killing me." I fumbled with my own key once more. "I should get some rest. Although then, take care and stay safe. I'll see you around. And don't work yourself too hard. Have a good rest of the night," Chelsea said, waving as they headed back to the apartment. I stepped inside my apartment and released the breath I hadn't really realised I was holding. My mind still echoing with the disturbing things. Chelsea had said about Mrs. Donovan and her ultimate death. Pushing myself away from the door, I moved through my darkened apartment, flipping on the lights as I went. The shadows seemed longer tonight, and the corners of my home appeared darker and more harmonious. In the kitchen, I poured myself a glass of wine with shaking hands. Don't drink alcohol when you've already seen a demon that's killed your neighbour, and spilling a few drops on the counter, though I didn't bother to wipe them up. The television droned on in the background. I don't know when this story's finishing, guys. As I curled up on my couch, wrapping myself in a throw blanket despite the warmth of my apartment. News footage of paramedics outside my building played silently. A reporter discussing the mysterious death of an elderly resident. I quickly changed the channel. Sleep proved impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, that hooded figure and the impossible 13th floor replayed in my mind. Chelsea's words about Mrs. Donovan's nightmare echoed incessantly the same nightmares I'd had, the same figure I'd seen. Around midnight, I finally dragged myself to bed. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling and listened to occasional creaks and groans of the building settling. My eyelids grew heavy despite my anxiety, and eventually I drifted into an uneasy sleep. I woke with a start, my alarm blaring beside me. For a moment I felt disorientated, unable to tell if I had truly slept or merely closed my eyes for a few minutes. My body felt heavy and my mind foggy as I dragged myself out of bed and into the shower. The hot water did little to wash away my unease as I dressed for work. I found myself continuously glaring towards the door, half expecting a knock or the turn of the handle. I chided myself for being irrational, but couldn't shake the dread that had firmly taken root into my mind. My morning routine took longer than usual. Every sound startled me. By the time I was ready to leave, I was already running late. I hesitated at the door, took a deep breath and stepped into the hallway. The corridor was quiet with morning light flickering through the windows at each end. I locked my door and headed towards the elevator, only to freeze mid-step. There in the middle of the hallway, stood Chelsea. I recalled that she worked at a different hospital across town, yet she was in hospital scrubs, though they looked rumbled as if she slept in them. Her egg hung loose and tangled around her shoulder. Chelsea, I called cautiously, "Are you okay?" She didn't respond at first, remaining perfectly still with her gaze fixed on the wall. Something about her unresponsive stillness sent a chill down my spine. "Chelsea," I tried again, gently reaching out to touch her shoulder. At my touch, her head snapped towards me, but her eyes remained unfocused, gazing through me rather than at me. Her pupils were dilated and her face looked unnaturally pale. If someone's face is pale and their eyes are dilated, they're either dead or hallucinating or something. There's something seriously wrong. Run away from that person, especially when they stood in the middle of a corridor. Simple. Oh, where am I? It's gone down. It comes at night, Chelsea whispered, her voice raspy and strange. The shadow of death, it wears white but leaves dark, and it makes them first. The 13th floor, it's waiting there. My blood ran cold. "Chelsea, what are you talking about? There is no 13th floor. I saw it last night," she continued, her voice slurring slightly in the elevator. The button appeared white dust, so cold she shuddered violently. Who's next? I gripped her shoulders, shaking her gently. "Chelsea, snap out of it." Blinking rapidly, Chelsea's eyes gradually focused. Colour slowly returned to her face and confusion took over. She looked around disoriented before finally recognising me. So guys, why hadn't this woman told the police after that woman died all about what's going on, and now it's going on to everyone in that building? All this with this, like, I mean, they can't do all the humans, so they can't do all, of course, if it's a demon, but, you know, they have to get priests, but at least they know that that woman died by a demon, not actually a living being as well, and that maybe they could have got everyone out and just destroyed the building with holy water and smash it up. And so now, I don't know when it's ending, this story, guys. I'm hoping I'm not boring here. I don't know this long. So next is same story. I meant, what's next sentence? Where was it gone? That? Oh yes. Wait, what? Why am I in the hallway? She murmured, twitching her forehead and winching. God, I have such a headache. Was I sleepwalking? I'm not sure, I said uncertainly, my eyes still fixed on her face. You were just standing here talking about strange things. What things? She asked, frowning, as she rubbed her temples. I hesitated before replying. About a shadow of death and the 13th floor. Her eyes widened in disbelief. I don't remember any of that. Glaring at her, what? She gasped. Oh God, I'm late. I need to get away. She hurried towards the elevator, then paused and looked back at me with an embarrassed smile. Sorry about that. Must have been sleepwalking or something. Too many night shifts, you know. Before I could utter a word, Chelsea disappeared around the corner towards the elevator, and I stood frozen in the hallway, my mind racing. The coincidence was too overwhelming. Yeah, 'cause it's not coincidence, love. Mrs. Donovan's experience, my own, and now Chelsea mentioning the same horrors. Late at work, I couldn't focus. Twice I nearly administered the wrong medicine. My patient, catching myself just in time. Colleagues asked if I was feeling ill. Nothing. my pallor and distracted state. I blamed it on the lack of sleep, which wasn't entirely untrue. During my lunch break, I sat alone in the hospital cafeteria, picking at a salad that I had no appetite for. I pulled out my phone and searched for information about the building's history. Central Lights had been built in the 1970s and renovated in the early 2000s. Nothing unusual. A standard high-rise apartment building. I scrolled further until I stumbled across an old newspaper article about a so that working where even am I? Where have I gone? Controversy during his I don't know if that's how you say it. It's I don't know construction. The original plans had included a 13th floor, but due to substitution, the developers had labelled it the 14th, skipping 13 altogether. So maybe that demon weren't happy that they went a 13th floor and it was 14 and they wanted it to be a 13. I don't know really. Where is it? Skipping. So what caught my attention was a small paragraph. Nothing that threw my chef or Chita had either gone missing or died mysteriously before construction was completed. His body was never found either way. My hands trembled as I set down my phone. It couldn't be a mere coincidence. The rest of my shift dragged on endlessly. By the time I clocked out, the darkness had fallen, and a fine mist hung in the air, diffusing the street lights into hazy orbs. Oh, has anyone else ever seen her orbs? I've seen her. I considered taking a different route or maybe even staying at a hotel for the night, but the thought seemed ridiculous. In the rational light of the hospital lobby, I pulled my coat tight and stepped out into the night. But let me tell you something, if it's a demon, it doesn't matter if you're going to stay somewhere else. They'll know where you are. They'll follow you. I'm sorry, but I have to tell you all the truth. So I pulled my curtain and stepped into the night. The walk home felt longer than usual, each shadow making my heart skip a beat. When I finally reached my building, I noticed Ray was gone for the day, replaced by a night doorman whose name I couldn't recall and who barely looked up from his phone as I entered. Not a very good security guard then, is he? On phone. Sounds a bit like all my staff sat here on phone instead of working. I hesitated at the elevator and then decided to head for the stairs, unwilling to risk another encounter. However, when I reached the door to the stairwell, to my shock, it was locked. I turned round and tried to flag down the night doorman, but he had vanished. I looked around, unsure of what to do next, when suddenly the elevator doors opened. I stared at the vacant elevator. Its fluorescent light flickering over so the interior was pristine. No white powder, no mystery buttons, no towering figure, just an ordinary elevator waiting patiently for a passenger. Rational, I thought, urged me to step inside, especially since the stairwell was locked and I needed to get to my apartment. Yet my feet remained rooted to the lobby floor and my body refusing the simple command to move. What are you coughing for? Can you do it quietly?
I'm on my phone like all this stuff.
A soft chime, a soft chime sounded at the doors begin to close. Acting on instinct, I lured forward, fisting my arm between the closing doors. They retracted immediately and I stepped inside my arm against my ribs. There's not any stairs in these apartments, so what? Like, why keep going in that scary lift on a 10th floor? Yeah, no, I've just seen. The doors closed behind. That's not part of what I'm reading. I've just seen. That's this one being silly. Right.
Doesn't smell
It's not Journey. She's fast asleep. The doors closed. Stop it! You're waking her up. Stop being childish. Yeah, I'm in against my finger hovered over the bottom panel. 16, I could just press 16 and go home. But then my eyes were drawn to the space between 12 and 14, the unmarked space where 13 should be. The door closed behind me with a soft thud that in my heightened state sounded like a slam of a prison gate. I pressed 16 quickly, then backed into the corner, watching the numbers illuminate as the elevator began to ascend. Everything seemed normal at first, and as I ascended, I tried to ignore the lingering feeling of dread. I watched the display numbers to slowly increase, then to my horror, the elevator stopped. It had halted at 12, but the door wouldn't open. Then the number distorted and went blank, and I felt the elevator creeping up several more feet before stopping on the floor higher than the 12. The door slid open and there it was, a hooded figure stood in the doorway, impossibly tall, its white coat hanging from a skeleton shoulder. I pressed myself against the back wall of the elevator and my scream caught in my throat, while dust swirled around the figure's feet, drifting into the elevator like fog. Please, I managed to whisper, though I wasn't sure what I was begging for. The hugged figure bent down and stepped into the elevator with each step. A nonsense cloud of choky dust spread around and I covered my mouth in horror. It extended one impossibly long arm, the sleeve falling back to reveal a hand made entirely of bone. Gleam. You don't need to scream, you can't hear what I'm saying. Gleaming white in the dim light, it reached out with slow, deliberate motion. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face, and I said, my voice growing stronger, I won't go with you. The figure tilted its hooded head, as if puzzled by my refusal. It took a step forward with every movement. White dust billowed, filling the cramped space with my fine mist that made me cough. I called emanated from it, an otherworldly chill that penetrated my soul and froze my thoughts. Its